Hello, welcome to our Capi's a Bag series. We've been working on making bags, learning tips and techniques so that as we go through this process we're learning something new every time. And my apologies if I sound a little hoarse. I've got a little bit of a cold, but I'm on the mend, so we'll get through this video and it may be in sections, but Peter, because he's behind the camera and does all that magic stuff, will section it together, and if I have a coughing fit you won't get to see it. So this month, our technique that we're focusing on is cork. And if you've not worked with cork before, it comes in so many different colors, so many different choices. The one I'm using today happens to be the one that they used in the pattern that we're working with. But this is cork. It comes on a roll. And it is actually cork. It has a fiber backing on it. And then there's a very thin layer of cork. The edges have a salvage similar kind of to what we find in fabric, so there's an unusable part here that's just a little bit. But pretty much you can use the whole sheet. It is not inexpensive. I'll be honest, it takes a little bit of money to purchase it. However, what happens with it is because of the nature of the fiber, you don't have to use stabilizers and interfacing. So if you figure that into the cost of it, you're saving your interfacing and stabilizer money, then it's not that expensive. So it has its own stabilizer attached to it. So that's kind of, that offsets it a little bit. And what I love is I've used a lot of cork, and it stays very, very firm. It has a nice bend to it. It's not hard to work with. People are like, oh, it's not fabric. It's so simple to work with, but I think you have to not be afraid to try it. We have a lot of options in cork for you that you can try. And these projects are specifically small because I just want you to get in the hang of using cork. We're going to add some hardware. We're actually doing 2 projects this month instead of just one, because one uses cork one way and one kind of uses it another. One of the great things about cork is you can have raw exposed edges. The project I'm going to show you first does not have that, but you'll see how nice it is to have sometime a raw exposed edge you don't have to finish. So the first project we're going to make is called Debby. It's from the Sally Tomato Company, which I love Sally Tomato. Shout out to that business. They have a wonderful website. They have great hardware. We do carry a lot of their products, but if we don't have it, I wouldn't hesitate 1 minute to buy directly from her. She does a beautiful job of offering her products and information on how to create her products. She has videos and all kinds of stuff. Super, super great company. So anyway, this is called the Debby, and it's a fun little pattern. I think it goes together really well. She does a really good way of laying it out. Here's my finished product. Coincidentally, it is the same fabric that she had. I think that's kind of funny. Sometimes we can't get the same, but this is the same cork she used, and I think my hardware is even the same. So there you go. My zipper's a little different, but anyway, that's it. It's got a nice, Peter, when I showed it to him, that was his comment. He liked the, but how, you said?
I said I absolutely love the body of the material. Yeah. See how it keeps a shape, like a nice open shape. Yeah. It doesn't like just fall flat to nothing. I love it. Yeah, and it's a quick and easy. This is, I recently was on a little vacation, and I can tell you the size of this was perfect because, and it had the little wrist thing, and so I could like take this on my wrist, and I could put my sunglasses, I could put my phone, you know, I could put my lip gloss, I could put my passport, I could put those things that you just absolutely have to have when you're walking around. And I had this all right with me, and it was really a good size. So sometimes things are a little too small or too big or whatever, and this was, and it's light, so kudos, love this product. The instructions that she gives you are excellent. You're going to cut out basically 4 pieces of cork, and then you need a zipper. I happen to use this zipper that's on a coil. And then you need a grommet, which that's the part we're going to show you is how to put a grommet in. And then this is called a gate ring. And what it is it's one of those that it opens like a gate. Yeah, I'll see if I can open it. This will be the test. Can Capi open
the ring. There we go. There it is. See that little thing there? It swings. And that has to go through here. And then you have to have something to hold your handle with. Now, I have this set, and this is a Sally Tomato set. And I wanted to show this to you because I bought this, I don't know, a couple years ago, I guess. I think I bought 2 of them, actually. Excuse me.
Now, are these ones that they can order?
Yes, you can get this from us. They come in different colors. This is all in the black metal, or sometimes they call it a gun metal. And it came with different color zippers. It's got the little handmade label that you can put on your product, which you're going to see. I'm going to put that on. It's got some nice little holders for straps if you want to put straps on. If you're serious about bag making, this is a great investment. There's feet for the bottom of your bags. There's ends for your tag. I mean, just, I can't even tell you. I've used this kit so many times, and I still have plenty of stuff left. So, if you can't get the individual items, sometimes buying a whole set like this is great, especially if you're going to make a lot of bags. I would suggest this in a heartbeat. So anyway, these are my accessories. I do need one little piece of foam, and that's going to go behind this. So that's what you have to have that for, is to support that, okay? And so once I get all my pieces cut according to her pattern, we're going to start doing some assembly. I've got all my pieces cut according to the pattern directions, and now I'm going to put the zipper in. Now, I know every time we say zipper, people start having like little anxiety attacks. But I showed you my zipper tape that I use, that I love, that, you know, is the best hack ever. And so I'm going to use my zipper tape to help hold this in place. The thing about working with cork is sometimes it feels a little slippery, so I think the zipper tape is even more important than ever before. And when I have, this is a wide bag zipper. This is not one of the narrower zippers that you use. I typically use these in all my bags. I just like the heftiness of these zippers better. So I've placed it kind of a little ways in because I don't want this to be too far out. I've kind of used the guide here. In fact, it's just a little off. I'm going to kind of try and move it if I can. Maybe won't be able to. Yeah, I can move it. See where it wasn't quite lined up right there? I'm going to move it over just a little bit so that the edge of my tape is at the edge of that line. See where I'm trying to get that? Right on that edge. And that just helps me position this correctly. Okay. So I'm going to have to put that on both sides. Now we're going to do this side. I'm going to just place it down here. And I go right along that edge. Now, buying the zipper on a coil and just a big chunk of it really does save you some money, because you can just use the amount of zipper that you need for the project you're working on. And I use these zipper coils for lots of things. I've already got my end notched, so I'm going to be ready to put my zipper head on. And what I do usually when I have a coil is I notch that in, and I just will slide some zippers on it and have it ready to go. So I'm going to peel this off, and now I no longer have it's sticky both sides. When you put this on your cork, you want to have them right sides together. Okay? And this cork is directional, so I want to be keen to that. I don't want to sew it upside down. I want to be sure I get it going the right way. So I'm just going to lay that right on that edge. It just goes like that. Nice and close. And I've got to put the zipper foot on the machine. So let me change my zipper foot. If you don't have a zipper foot for your machine, you need to find one, or find one that works for you. But with this machine, you just push the little button on the back and the foot falls off. And then I get into my little handy dandy tool set here. And here's my zipper foot. This one happens to look like that. Sometimes I have a dial, it moves back and forth. This one I move the needle back and forth so I get the needle in the right position and it stays in the same spot all the time. This just drops right down. Easy peasy. Now, if I want to sew to the left or the right, which is sometimes helpful, in this situation I probably will sew right down the middle because this zipper is pretty wide. So I can put the edge of my zipper foot on the edge of the fabric in the zipper coil. And I can sew right straight, and I know I'm about a 1/4 inch in, which is just about perfect. I am using a 40 weight thread instead of a lighter weight thread because this is heavier to sew on. So if you have a heavier thread, I would recommend it. I also am using black just because black looks so cool with it. My stitch length is going to be set at about 2.0. You don't want to get it too tight when you're sewing on one of these. And I'm just going to do straight stitch all the way down this. I will lock it a little bit at the beginning just to be sure that it doesn't slide out. Here we go. You'll notice I'm using my stylus. I love this little stylus. It helps me guide things through, especially when I'm working with fabrics that sometimes are a little thicker or a little different. It kind of just helps keep everything flat and smooth. It's an extra finger that if I sew through it, it won't hurt so bad. I'm going to come to the end and lock that stitch. So I've got this piece sewn in, nice and flat, and now I'm going to sew the next piece in. So I'm going to, again, this is going to come out like this. So I want to make sure I'm going the right direction because it's directional fabric. And then I also want to make sure these sides line up. If I put that too far over there, then I've messed up my shape. So I want to be sure I get this lined up just perfect. So I'm going to take my zipper tape. So I have my goo. I love my goo. I want to make sure everybody's going the right direction. So I want to go that way, that way. See, they're headed the right way. So I'm going to flip that over. I'm kind of a simple person. I have to do things in a simple way. And then I'm going to line, see, I'm lining that up so that this comes in the same spot. And I'm just going to push that down. And you know, I love this tape because it replaces binder clips, it replaces pins. It's stuck, man. I don't have to do anything else. It's going to stay. Check the tension on this. It feels a little wacky. Nope, we're good. Okay. And now I'm going to sew down this side. Zippity-doo-dah. I can see making a lot of fun things out of cork with the horse riding and horse stuff you do, Peter.
Oh, yeah.
I see an opportunity to use some really fun stuff for cork.
Never thought about it.
Yeah. Okay. So now I have my zipper sewn in place.
I just love with the cork, I forgot to add that having that body means there's not all the other stuff you have to fuss with. No interfacing.
Right.
The batting, the lining. It's almost like self-lined.
It really is. And these raw edges now, okay, so here's the other part. I was talking about the raw edges. That is not going to fray. It's not like fabric. It's got like a firm raw edge. If you really wanted to, you could go back in and you could zigzag it or whatever. I don't care. It's going to be on the inside of my bag. Nobody's going to see that part. And then I'm going to fold this back. Now, I kind of want just a little bit of a cushion there. So I'm folding it in just the littlest bit. But look how it holds my press. You don't want to iron it. Let me just tell you this. Don't put an iron to it. Not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. All right, so I'm going to press this kind of nice and flat so that it lays where I want it to against that. I have to be careful not to get it too close or my zipper won't move. But I'm staying out, 1/16 of an inch probably away from that. And I can just finger press that down. Now, in this case, I am going to move my needle. See how my needle's going to drop in the middle? But I really want it to drop over there. So I'm going to move my needle position over so that when it drops, it's dropping right there at the edge instead of in the middle. It's just going to give me a nicer finish. And I'm going to set my stitch length at probably 3.5, just because that's a pretty chunky stitch length, but I'm good with that. And I'm just going to sew along. And again, here I am using this stylus. Y'all going to... So you see me using this stylus to kind of help guide the fabric Make sure I've got it.
And I see that keeps it nice and smooth.
Yeah.
So instead of just using the point, you're using the side of it.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. This is like an extension of my hand.
That's cool.
That I'm not afraid to put under there. If I put this under there, you know what happens.
You get a break from sewing for a while.
I do. You get a break from sewing for a while.
That you didn't want.
And I don't want to take that. And I'm using kind of the edge of my foot. I'm just eyeballing this. If you need to draw a line, draw a line. If you need to put tape on, put tape on it. But you don't have to be perfect. Just, you know, go as slow as you need to go to get it done. And just kind of, you know, enjoy the process. Boom. One side top stitched. How pretty that is. Okay, this is another reason I love, love, love cork.
That's awesome.
Look at that. Look at that stitch definition. I mean, just doesn't it look really pretty?
It does.
It's just, it looks so professional. And it's not hard. People are going to see this and go, you made that? Yep, I did. Okay, so again, I'm kind of folding this over a little bit to match the other side. See, it puffs, and I don't want that. So I'm folding it. Okay. The other thing is that little bit of tape is in there, and it's kind of helping hold it too. Look at that.
Yeah, because first off, you wouldn't be able to fold that over if you had that clipped.
Right, exactly.
You can only do that because you taped it first.
Yep. All right, here we go. I'll do the next side. And I'm going to tell you right now, top stitching is what makes the difference.
It really does.
It's the finish. It's the icing on the cake. It's like making a quilt top and never quilting it. It's not the same. You got to do that. Okay. Look how pretty. Love it. All right. Now I want to show you how to put this little handmade thing on. She recommends putting it down here in the corner. You can put it anywhere you want. I could put it up here. This word says handmade. These are fun little decorative parts. The hardware are what really bling your stuff up. This is super simple to put in. I like to kind of get these straight. I've drawn a little line. I've taken my ruler. Can't think of the word. And I've made a little 1-inch mark right there. I put a little indentation over there. And that's kind of my beginning point. So I know that that's where I want it to land. And then you can kind of draw a faint line. I try not to draw too much on cork. Cork tends to absorb what you put in it. So I try not to put much on it. That I'm putting there because I know I'm going to cover it up. But I'm going to use that then to create these holes. And so what I do typically is just kind of put that on there just the littlest bit. And then I'll take my pencil and I'll mark where those dots are with my pencil. And then I'm going to fold that. And I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut the littlest piece right there. And then where my other dot is, I'm going to cut a little hole right there. Okay? And then the good thing about it is it gives. And it just lets me slide that right through. See there? Look at that. Quick and easy. And then where I drew that little line, you see it's underneath the edge. It's under here, so you don't see where I made that mark on the cork, because you won't get that off your cork. And then this comes with these little handy pieces. And just fold that over. Again, we're back to the fact that we don't have any need for, you know, interfacing and things like that. If you don't want this to be rough, you could probably cover it with a little bit of something. I know what I'm going to be throwing in there. I don't care, so I'm not worried about that. But I could put a little piece of something over that if it bugged me. Okay, now I got to put my zipper head on. Those of you who've been with me, you know I like to do zipper heads. I would change them because the nature of this, I leave everything the same color. It's this gunmetal or black nickel sometimes. So what I've done is I've cut the width of the zipper head off of the end of the zipper, And we've shown you this several times, but it begs repeating. And I slide this piece of the zipper head on. And I open that just a little bit. And now I bring that into that hole. Just like that. And she goes right on. Okay? And now I'm going to take the back side, which is this piece that I've cut here. I think I got her a little big, so I'll have to trim her off. But I'm going to take my back side and I'm going to make sure it's going the right direction too. And I'm going to sew that completely on. But I'm going to make sure this is open. Because you know why. So let me get this cut to the right size, and then we'll sew this on. You can see it finished sewed on. She gives you a couple options on completing the seams on this project. Because we're using cork, and if you can see on my finished one, I did not do the French seams that she recommended. I did a traditional seam, okay? But it has a finished edge, so it's not going to be raw. So this worked for me. But so you can see how a French seam is made, when you look at the pattern, one says assemble carrier with traditional seams. I'm actually going to do the part where it says assemble the carrier with French seams. And in order to do that, instead of putting right sides together and sewing it, I'm putting wrong sides together and sewing it. And then you sew, again, make sure your zipper's open all the way, and then you sew all the way around. And I've managed to unthread my needle because I changed the foot. So I did take my zipper foot off, and back to my standard straight stitch foot. And we're going to sew it together. Now when you do a French seam, you only want to sew in about 1/8 of an inch because you're going to turn it. So I know on this machine, when my needle is at center, if I put the edge on this little line, I'm at 1/8 of an inch. And I suggest you get to know your machine that way too. You should know those little things about it. So we're going to sew this. I'm going to go all the way around. And this is where Peter will, through the magic of television and videography, fast forward. And I will suddenly sew like the chipmunk scene. Alright, so now I've done these funny little French seams. You notice I didn't cut my zipper off. I didn't want to cut that off until I got ready to be sure I was done with that part of sewing it in. Because if you make a mistake, you can't put more on the zipper, but you can, if you cut it off, it's too late. So, all right, so that's done. Now I'm going to turn it wrong side out. But I got to push these points out and get these corners all the way out. Okay, now the trick is when I sew again, I want to encase the fabric that's in there so that you don't see anything sticking out. So I'm going to have to be sure this is a really generous quarter. The thickness of this cork is making it a little thicker than I would typically do with a French seam. We're going to make it work. Because that's what we do. We're improvisers. Okay. And here we go. So now I'm going to go back in here again, and I'm making sure that that 1/8 of an inch seam that I sewed is encased, because I don't want that sticking out. Now this is going to make my project a little bit smaller than the original one because of the way it's sewing, but that's okay. It's a big enough bag when you're done that you've got plenty of room. It's smooth on the inside anyway. Okay. All right, let's turn her over. Turn me over, I think I'm done. Okay, so here's the opinion on French seams with cork. It's a little thick. I wouldn't do it. But it's okay. We tried it, and now you know the concept, okay? The cork, you don't need it. It's too much bulk. I'm getting it pushed out, but it's kind of tough. All right, let's do the grommet. That's the scary part. So I cut a little 1-inch piece of foam interfacing stuff to put in here for my grommet. And it goes in this corner. And now that I've downsized it, you see it's going to be like that. There's 2 parts to this. One kind of goes into the other. So when you have a box full of them like I do, I've picked the same side, and that's not going to work. One should nest in the other. There we go. So this one's a little bigger than this one. So when you put them together, they kind of lock. I'm going to take my little piece of, now this is iron in. But guess what I'm going to use? You know what I'm going to use?
What?
I'm going to use my tape, if I can find my tape. Well, where'd my tape roll off to? My zipper tape. I swear. I'm a ding-dong. Oh, there it is. Fell down beside the machine. That in and out. Okay. So I'm going to take my little zipper tape, and I'm just going to take a little chunk of it, put it right across there, peel it off, and now I can slide it in where I want it. See? Zipper tape. I'm telling you, it's your best friend. Okay, and I just lay that in there. And that's just to support that that piece of grommet, because that grommet's kind of tough on things. Yeah, French seams with cork's a bad idea. Just so you know, it's too thick. But that's all right. We tried it. No, so that's in place. Now I'm going to put my grommet right in the middle of that. Now here's the scary part. You got to cut a hole. So I lay this grommet right where I want it to be on my project, and I just draw a circle. And see, it's right there. I can see it's real faint. And I'm going to cut this out. Now, when you cut it, these are not the best scissors to be using for this. When you cut that hole, you really have to trim it out. You don't want any thickness back there. So I'm going to like cut. This is like chewing with a butter knife. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. I'm getting in there now. You're going to cut that circle out where you drew that. And it's going to take several passings probably to get it completely out the way you want it. But I always kind of start small because, again, it's like cutting the zipper. You can't put it back once you cut it off. So, but I'm going to take a pretty good chunk out of there. And then I'm going to set my piece. I usually put my back piece in. That's the taller one. And kind of see if it fits. Although, you know what? I think I'm supposed to go through all the layers. If I do that, I got to go through all the layers. I messed up. I got to go through all the layers. Let's zip this closed. There we go. I got to go through all my layers. So I'll just draw me another circle. Cut that part out too. Those scissors would have never got through that anyway. So, okay, let's talk about scissors for a minute. I have a pair of scissors at home that are a snub nose scissors, and they're great for cutting out this kind of stuff with fabric. Typically, when you're putting a grommet in, you're almost always going through several layers. And so, some really tight kind of snub nose scissors are nice, because they can get down in there. These little embroidery scissors are, this is a test in futility. But you see, my hole's not necessarily as big as when I'm putting in there, and it's still okay. And it's not quite big enough, though. So we're going to get in there again, chop it up a little more. Again, it's very forgiving. I don't have raw edges I have to worry about, because it's going to just kind of, it almost kind of shrinks back around it a little bit, which is kind of cool. There we go. It's a better size hole. It just looks like I'm butchering this, man. It's cruel.
Oh,
it's cruel and unusual punishment. Okay. And then see how that kind of, it stretches almost around it. It like, as I put it on there, it nests. I'll go a little bigger.
So cut the hole smaller than you think you'll need.
Yes.
Stretch it around it to fit.
And yeah, just kind of.
That makes sense.
I do it a little bit at a time. I'm just going to tell you, I don't cut a big old piece out, because I have made an entire project. There's another bag called My Favorite Bag.
Oh boy.
I do love it. It's a really cool bag. And it has like 8 grommets in it or something. And I cut them out, and I cut them. I didn't do them one at a time. I did all 8 holes.
Oh no.
Yeah. and they were wrong.
Oh man!
And the bag is ruined. It's the very last thing you do. So I'm a pretty carefree person, but when it comes to cutting out things for grommets, I tend to be a little cautious and run a little gun shy. All right. Yeah, see how I'm kind of stretching that into place? I don't want it to be too loose around there because it peeks back out. Here I'm with my stylus again. See, that pushes down in there. I'll take a little bit more right here. It's sculpture. It's sculpture. There we go. Now, we're going to have to kind of turn here, and you may have to turn us off and restart.
It's beaver chewed.
It is beaver chewed. Looks like it's been lunchtime. So I'm ready to do the part that's kind of the scary part. I've cut that hole, chewed on it like he said. It's beaver chewed. But you know, it's all right. That's what you got to do. And I've got my two pieces that come together. And I have this is a piece of foam. It's not fancy. But I put that on either side of this thing to kind of protect that metal. And I have my handy little hammer here. And you just hit it. And it's done.
That's cool.
Isn't that slick?
That's slick.
Isn't that very fun? I love this. This is a cool thing to do, and it does such a decorative thing. It's inexpensive, it's easy, it's quick, and it really impresses. People are like, oh, that's got a hole in it. Okay. With a hole. It's like a donut hole.
Oh, man.
You're excited because there's a hole. Okay. So then this is my gate ring, which I spent 20 minutes figuring out how to open, and now I've forgotten again. It pushes
towards the center.
So that goes through here.
Because it's not... you would think it opens like one of them binder clips, like sideways, but...
Now, when I showed you my kit, this is one of my options for making a wrist hold, okay? I have this little piece that I've cut to the dimensions, and I'm basically going to just fold that. Let me see. Let me make sure I do it the way she tells you. Yeah. Wrist strap. Yeah, so we're folding it to the center, and then like this. So it's 4 folds. You know what I'm going to do?
Zipper tape.
Zipper tape. Everybody get excited. It's time for zipper tape. Let me get my pen. So I'm going to make a line down the center of this 2-inch piece. Most wrists, when you make the wrist things like this, they're typically about that size. Why is that not coming out in the center? There we go. Okay. That's the center. I'm going to take my zipper tape. I'm going to set it right on there. Because, you know, it works. And I'm going to pull this off. And now I have this adhesive. I'm avoiding using a binder, and I'm just folding this in. Now I'm folding it in on half of the zipper tape because the other half has to lay on the other half of the zipper tape, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. There she goes. And then this way. Okay, there. And then we fold it in half again. And I'm going to sew down either side of that. You don't have to have the luxury of watching me do that, but I'm just going to sew down one side, down the other side. But you know what? Let's put that over there because that can be a little tough. And now that I say I'm not going to show you, I think I am going to show you. Because I'm going to show you how I use my stylus and get it to work. Sometimes...
yeah, this could be tricky.
This can be because you have such a narrow piece here and getting that underneath that foot. So here's my trick. Don't start at the end. Don't start down here because that's naturally going to want to go blip and get stuck under there. So come up a little bit and start with a bunch of that kind of under the back of the foot. I can go back and pick that up. And I go ahead and use this. I could probably use a walking foot. I could maybe even use a zipper foot for this, but I typically do it with this foot. Again, I'm going to put my stitch length to 3.5. I think that's what I did earlier. And I'm just going to sew down this side and sew down that side. That's a really narrow place to sew. I mean, I've got to get kind of right on that edge. So, this is one of those things. I'm probably not going to go, like, buddy fast. I'm going to go a little slower. But I'm, you know, I've got my zipper tape in there, kind of holding it all together. I've got my stylus, and I'm just watching the edge of that kind of go in just right where I want it. And I didn't have to fold the ends or anything under, because those ends were going to cram into this little head that this wristlet's going to go on. It's going to go into the hardware. Okay. Again, we're back to the top stitching part. This is what makes it look really cool. This is what makes them not be able to tell that it's handmade. Of course, I put a handmade sticker right on the front of it, didn't I? I want everybody to know it's handmade. Okay, go to the end. And then I'm going to start the same way. Now, how am I going to get this little piece right here? I'm just going to turn around and go the opposite direction. It's just funny how that works. Okay, so I'm going to start about midway, and off we go. And, you know, these aren't going to be exactly perfectly, nobody's going to look that close at the wristlet, but as close as you can get to that edge, the better you're going to be. Okay. So that little part that I need to finish right there, that's actually going to be in the head of this thing, so I'm not even going to worry about that. There's just a little bit here I need to do, and I'm just going to go right there in that same stitch and go to the end. We're good. Nope, my thread broke. Man, I'm just having all kinds of fun today, aren't I?
This is the place to be right here.
I know, I know. Well, and I tell you, this is the real part.
Tell me what sewer can quote without the thread coming undone.
Well,
I mean, that happens to me all the time.
I really think I need to be putting a different, I don't think I've got the right needle in here even yet. Okay, here we go. There we go. I'm going to slow this down a little bit so I can get that where I want it. Okay, not quite that much.
It's like watching paint dry.
Yeah, really. Okay, there we go. Wristlet's done. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now, we're going to put this together. Now, I have this product called E6000. If you're a crafter, you've used E6000 before, I would just about bet you. It's a great product. It will stuck. I use it a lot in my bags. I didn't use it in the grommet because the grommet honestly doesn't need it. But when I'm putting stuff into a metal end like this I'm going to do, I want a little extra power on that. The other thing is, because this is a wristlet, it's going to probably get a little bit of pull and tug on it. So I want to just be sure. I'm trimming up my nasties. I just want to be sure that's going to stay. So I'm going to put, and this stuff is nasty old stuff. I've had this bottle forever. We sell it in smaller containers. I would suggest getting a smaller container, because this stuff is kind of interesting. So I'm going to put a glob of glue down in there. And this is like super glue on steroids. But the cool thing about it is it takes it a little longer to dry, and if you get it on your hands, it's kind of gummy, so you can get it off pretty quick. And I just stick these two ends down in there. Look how fun that is. There's a little thread. I'm going to trim that off. And then there's a hole right there. See that hole? That hole is for a screw.
Oh, I thought it was a breather hole.
I know. No, it's for a screw. And you know what? I didn't bring my eensy teensy weensy itsy bitsy screwdriver. But this kit that I bought has all these little pieces and parts with it. And here's the screw. See that screw?
Oh, that is itsy bitsy.
It's an itsy bitsy teeny weeny tiny polka dot bikini. Okay, so that screw has a teeny tiny head on it, and that will push down through that cork, and it's going to really hold that nice and secure.
That's cool.
Isn't that awesome? So I don't have my screwdriver. My apologies to my husband, who would be watching this and saying, "Where was your screwdriver?" But I'll put that in when I go home. And then, look at here. We did it.
Ta-da!
And that didn't take long. I mean, really, when you look at some of the projects we've done. There it is with the French seam. You see, it did make it a little smaller. There it is with the regular seam. I would go this way. I don't think you need the French seam on there. But this one does have the little handmade label on it, which is kind of fun. I did use a different chain on this. This one's, oh no, yeah, no, I used the same one, I guess. Oh no, maybe they are a little different. Yeah, they're a little different. One's got a longer loop, this one has a shorter loop. If you've been following this and you made the key fob, you could put your key fob on here. You know, the one we made in a previous lesson, that would give you something to hang off of that too. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how this goes together. Don't be afraid of cork. So that was the main thing I wanted to teach you, was a little bit about hardware. I wanted to teach you that cork is not anything to be afraid of. We've got another project that goes with this, another small project, like a little cell phone bag, also made out of cork. Has a little different technique than this, so I want to show you that one as well. But I think this one is a great all-purpose. You could make vinyl, you could use fabric, you can use, the pattern actually says that you were using sailcloth with it, which I think is kind of cool. So, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you got questions, you can always email me, Capi@alwaysinstitches1.com. And stay tuned because we got one more bag to make in this session. Thanks.